Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting Cars. It's where I talk about random topics while I drive to and from places. At the moment I'm just leaving essentially the shopping centre, so excitement never ends for my fucking life. There's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I talk about random topics, I talk about sensitive topics, and I swear copiously. I love it, so I'm not giving that up, so bugger off. If you don't like that, absolutely, that's up to you as a grown-ass adult to make your own autonomous decisions and change the fucking channel. Not that I'll hold it against you, I don't think anyone's listening anyway. So, okay, oh my god, I gotta put my aircon on. Right, the topic for this, I think it's gonna be a pretty short drive home actually, is manners. People using their manners. I think they're important because, you know, manners maketh man rather than, you know, just being an arsehole. It doesn't necessarily make men. Makes you a decent human being. It does show a degree of, you know, decency to be considerate of other people, which I think is the main promise of manners. I think if you're just doing it to go through the motions to, you know, just to go along to get along, it's a bit of a waste of fucking time. You should be doing it for, you know, a richness of meaning, showing consideration to others because you actually give a shit. There's a lot of people that will just go through the steps or pretend to be nice. You know, those overly polite people that's got a particular pitch and tone to their voice when they see you, and you think, I know you didn't mean hello like that. I know I want to slap you. So you can tell fakeness at a distance. It's very irritating. If you genuinely have concern for people, it will show in the way you behave and act and present yourself. Of course, manners and politeness are important to belonging. Participating in a society. Otherwise, you also have to understand the context of the customs and things in the area in order to get it right. There's a certain standard you have to reach in order to participate adequately in society, and manners sort of help to get there. When I'm talking about manners, it's actually, you know, behaviours which promote positive interactions, I'm assuming, right? Some manners are a bit antiquated at this point. I will say things like opening doors because of sex or gender is overrated. We don't need to do that anymore. It's whoever gets to the door first, really, isn't it? We've both got arms and legs, unless someone actually doesn't have arms or legs, you know, and then you can lend them a hand. Ding, drum roll, please. But, you know, it's just generally being nice. I mean, you should be able to, you know, do the smallest thing just to help someone get along. If you've got to the door first, or if you're holding the lid for someone, that's just generally being a nice person. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it gets annoying when people assume that you have to be a nice person. It's like they just, you know, take it for granted. That's when, you know, people get a bit pissy. So you can't really assume that everyone's going to do it, but it's a nice surprise when they do, isn't it? Now I grew up given the context to this story, I grew up in a rough area. It is pretty low SES. At the moment it's slowly getting gentrified in certain areas of it. I'm currently driving through it at this point. I can see all the expensive looking apartment blocks, which were not there when I was growing up, which are right on the foreshore near the beach. I'm driving past those at the moment. They must have shot up in the last 5 years or so, 10 years. But it was a rough area, and so, you know, manners weren't exactly commonplace. They might have been commonplace in particular households. Like my parents taught us manners, be it a rough way of teaching us manners, they still taught us manners, which are, you know, conducive to participating politely in society. But around me, when I was growing up, it was pretty cutthroat. So, you know, it was rough as guts. Toughness was promoted because it's, you know, no money area. So with toughness came, you know, a lack of manners, basically, a lack of consideration for other people, because it promotes that me first survival instinct thing. It also promotes the toxic masculinity which grew up in the area, which, you know, in which women got treated like shit, basically. So if you found a way to survive that bullshit, I think you're pretty lucky. But, you know, manners make the man. Manners make everyone. To be honest, I don't think anyone should go through life without showing consideration for other people. It's just a dickhole thing to do. When you're self-promoting, putting yourself first above everyone else. And there is a difference between, you know, that self-entitled self-promotion compared to, self-love. There is a difference there. The arrogant, I have to be first because I'm most important or more important than everyone else. You're just gonna, stick your head above the trenches, get it shot off doing that. Because, you've got the whole tall poppy syndrome thing going on where anybody that's different is gonna get shot down. So if you tell everyone or try to make everyone believe that you're so amazing and fantastic, they're gonna correct you pretty fucking fast, where I grew up at least. I don't know what it's like in the more moneyed areas, but the last thing you wanted to do in an area with no fucking money was stand up and brag about how much shit you've got and how good you are, because they will fucking cut you down. It was a very real way to approaching life. Realism was on the forefront because, everyone's broke. No one's got the money. No one's got any kind of real resources. And if they do, it's very scant. And you're in survival mode pretty much for the majority of your life. Anything like bragging was a luxury. I didn't get, I lived in hand-me-downs and shit like that. If you go and listen to the other podcasts where I talk about what kind of an upbringing I had, it was, hand-me-downs and ultra-violence in the form of parenting. So manners were applied, they were theorized. My parents had double standards. It's like, you guys have to have the manners. We are going to be abusive. But I value them now because I know how much of a nicer experience, reality is when people are actually showing consideration. But at the same time, I balk at the idea of, fake people. They give me the shits because you can tell when people's faking it. I hate it. I hate walking into work some days and in a different school where I'm not familiar with the teachers, and they do that high pitch hi, and you sit there and go, I want to break your face. Why would you do that? Why would you introduce that noise into my life this early in the morning? I hate that fake shit. And then they pretend to be, and it's like overly dramatic gestures, like they're grinning but in a freaking stupid way, and you're sitting there going, you don't mean a goddamn thing you say, because you are faking it to make it at this point. And there is a point in your life where absolutely you're going to rely on autopilot to get through the day, but you don't do it to the point where it's irritating to other people. You don't be a dick, dude. Basic manners are integral in society, where, I know I keep saying I'm very mindful of it. If you listen to the Gym Faux Pas podcast I did, my pet peeves about people in gym, it's just basic gym etiquette. It's like, if you're going to go into an environment that has a particular functionality, you've got to understand the rules, right? You've got to make sure you follow the rules. Manners comes in the same format. You wouldn't walk into the gym, take a shit on the floor and leave. You'd know, hey, wait a minute, this isn't the place to do that. It's the basic rules to get along. I know I go on a rant for that podcast about things I hate about people doing the gym. Which is a little bit annoyed, but it's happened so many freaking times. It's like, how do you not understand the key behaviors that are expected in the gym? I don't understand it. Follow the rules, damn it, follow the rules. But, you want everyone to get along. And most of the things, it's like wiping down the equipment before and after. So, first of all, you're not transmitting COVID, which was the big thing a few years ago, not that long ago, and then suddenly everybody's fucking forgot to stop being a gross-ass pig. But it's just basic shit. Put the weights back so people can find them. Put the grips back where you can find them. Everything needs to be arrayed so you can see what you're working with. I mean, I know I had a militaristic background because my parents were very much, well, my mum was, my dad was useless. But my mum was very much, I want you to make sure you look after your shit. You look after your shit. So, it's clean, it's functional, you don't fuck around. You want it to work when you get there. It has to work when you get there because you're only going to get one, and if that breaks or runs out, either find a way to fix it or you're going to have to find a substitute. That was my upbringing. It was very functionalist. My mum was not about the aesthetics, she was about the show me. Show me you can. Show me you've got it. If you don't, fucking find it. It was very Spartan. The girls were treated harder than boys. The boys, well, my brother, there's one boy, there's 3 girls, me included. My mum had higher expectations for the women because my dad was so fucking useless. I see the direct correlation there. My mum wanted us to survive circumstances in case we run into another version of my dad, which, some people do. Some people do marry their, age-appropriate counterpart of their father. I dated mine. It was horrible. It's like, oh God, we're doing this one again. It's like, no. I've broken this generational curse. I'm walking the fuck away. I didn't marry mine, but I definitely dated it after I got divorced. So I'm like, oh my God, it's my dad all over again. Run! But you know, she raised us to survive should we need to, should we get stuck in those circumstances. What she should have done is raised us to identify it and walk the fucking other way. You know, it's like, I see this, fuck that, leave. She expected us to stay in the circumstances. Now, she is a firm believer in not getting divorced because this is the generational thing for her. She's a boomer. You don't get divorced, it's taboo, it's horrible, it's not the done thing. I'm of the generation where we go, that's shit, I'm leaving. And I think Gen X started that, to be honest, because they're very, you know, that's when the divorce rates started increasing. I still don't believe in divorce because I'm like, well, why would I start something if I didn't want to finish it, you know, if I didn't want to see it through? But at the same time, if you find yourself in circumstances so fucking tragically horrible, and that you're just not getting looked after, you're going to really have a choice, have you? And my ex-husband didn't believe in marriage, which he told me. And I'm going, okay, then why the fuck did you marry me? He's like, I don't believe in marriage, I don't believe in monogamy. I'm like, oh, fucking great, it's been 16 years, you dumb shit. Why are you doing this to me now? That was a very interesting conversation that took me a while to figure out, because he was never really direct until he actually said those words. I'm going, he was hinting towards it. I'm going, I know what you're hinting towards. I want you to say it like a big boy. Say it, you little bitch. You know? But he's a coward. He was just a coward. He didn't want to admit it. Anyway, long story short, my mum raised us to counteract that shit. So we were raised as functionalist realists. I was born an optimist because I was a very happy, smiley child. I know that much. But once my parents got involved, shit got a bit real. Manners were considered part of the functionalist side of things as well. It wasn't just a case of aesthetics, being polite and pretty and isn't that ladylike. Yes, we were raised to be ladies, of course, because, you know, whoring is counterintuitive to any kind of growth in life. You make yourself at risk, you risk your health, your sanity, everything. So my mum raised us to be pretty reserved when it came to that. We were protected, chaperoned. I say protected, we were controlled. We weren't allowed out of the house until we were like 18, unchaperoned. You know, the first time I went and took my dog for a walk, I was 18 and passed exams. And she made it absolutely clear you were not going to leave this house to go and do anything. I think I had like one sleepover when I was a kid, maybe two, I do remember two. Birthday parties were out, shit like that. She didn't like us interacting too much with other kids because it was bad influence. It was any kind of an influence. She, you know, I get a strong feeling very much that my friends at school were filtered, you know, so I don't know if it was protective so much as it was controlling. She didn't really get a say with me hanging around the stoners, so because this was at school as well. I was like, I'm not seeing drugs, but I know you guys take drugs. That was fun, because that was an eye-opening experience. But we were raised with manners, we were raised to be ladylike. I've got a filthy sense of humour and I love it because, you know, I was also, you know, because it was such a taboo topic, anything like, you know, sex and stuff, that, you know, I'll still lose my shit over fart jokes. I love that shit. I do. It's so mature. But, you know, it's you hear someone at a distance ripping one off and you die. I laugh my ass off. So I'll be passing those off to my brother and my sisters, pissing myself laughing at this dumb shit. And it's pretty cool. But on the whole, I do have seemingly good manners, unless provoked to be angry. And I did go through a phase in my early 20s where I was physically aggressive and not very ladylike. One instance is when I, you know, my friend Heather, when we had high school, she was the mum figure. You probably heard this story before, but she was the mum figure of the group when we were in high school. She looked after all of us. She was amazing. But she died later on in life. I think she was about 30. But she, you know, essentially she was morbidly obese. She puked in her sleep and choked on it. She was not well. And her health declined anyway beforehand. So everything was going, you know, down. It was a huge surprise and a shock when she died. But back before that, obviously, when we were late teen, actually no, mid-20s, One of her boyfriends, who was an absolute piece of shit, dumped her because she was morbidly obese. Now, this is the same kind of person that comes from a background of trauma as well. She had an absent father. Her mum survived and raised her. She had a brother, all these extra stories and things like that. The same kind of roughness that we were all raised with, she was raised with. Big Italian family. But to have someone who is an asshole like her now ex-boyfriend, dump her because, you know, she was fat. She ate her emotions, but she was the best fucking girl. She was the warmest, nicest, inclusive, caring person. My reaction was to smash his head on the fucking windscreen because I was angry. I'm normally not that angry. I can usually keep my temper, but in my early 20s, I was not a good person to hang around if you were mean to someone, because I would go out and I would fix the problem. And my way of fixing the problem was not very play-friendly. Yeah, and bearing in mind we'd been drinking and stuff like that as well, so I was angry. I was like, right, let's go fucking sort this fucker out. But in that role, I took on my masculine. I let my dark masculine win a little bit. Yeah, I was not a good year. But I was angry with him because she's this beautiful, lovely, fucking amazing girl. And he dumped her because she was fat. I'm sitting going, what the fuck excuse is that? And I lost it, which was terrible. I didn't use my manners at all. But if it's my friend and you're picking on my friend, I'll fuck you up. You know, that's the kind of background I have. I have that background where, you know, you don't go to the cops because cops is fucking snitching. So if you handle it yourself, it's better off, right? You wouldn't go to the cops for that, obviously. But, you know, it's the kind of background where if, you know, someone's getting beaten up, you go and get your friends and beat them the fuck up. So it's not very mature, but it gets the job done, you know. If you ever hear about girls getting smacked around by their boyfriend, generally you have male friends who go and sort him out. You know, it's that kind of an upbringing. It's a very rough area, and we all stuck up for each other, and we all sort of, you know, broke-ass kids hanging around. So, you know, it's a lot of camaraderie there. And we all looked after each other in high school because we all came from fucked up backgrounds. There was no fakeness there. If someone fucking picked on you, we fucking sorted it out. We all stuck up for each other. No one got picked on. It wasn't a case of, you know, someone standing up in a social group and saying, I don't like this one person, so, you know, we're going to kick them out of the group and we're going to bitch about them behind their back. If it was a real problem, like someone getting, you know, slapped around by their girlfriend maybe, or their boyfriend or something like that, we went and fucking sorted it out, you know? It wasn't the fake bullshit of gossip and stuff like that. That, to me, was more honorable, even though it was violence-based. It was more honorable than sitting there and just ostracizing someone and joining in and being a little bitch, essentially. It's that gossipy crap I can't stand. Tell me it's a real problem and I will fucking fix it. If it's a real problem. If I deem it not to be a real problem, I'll be like, you need to grow the fuck up and move on. I don't like the candified version of manners. The being polite. Like the damsel in distress thing. Like you go to the popular group and there's this one bitch who feels like intimidated by someone. I'm not pointing any fingers. And so she not only bitches about that person, she ostracizes them. She tells everyone that they were horrible to her. And then, you know, all the other ones join in because she's our friend and we have to stick up for her. But without actually understanding context or the facts involved or anything like that. And they've just jumped on a bandwagon which just shits on someone else who didn't fucking deserve it. And, you know, it's not a real problem. It was all based on one person getting offended over nothing and then the whole group ganging up. And you're sitting there thinking, did you consider why this original person got offended in the first place? Did you actually understand the facts or concept of why? Maybe they were intensely insecure and maybe they got an overdeveloped ego. Did you think about that before you started kicking people out of stuff? You know, it's like, if it was a case of, you know, a guy had slapped around a girl, then you can ostracize them. If it's a case of one girl getting offended because someone's dress is prettier than someone else's, fuck off. That's not a reason. That is a dumb fucking reason. To me, that's fake manners. That's gross. It's not real manners. That's just going along to belong. And you don't want to belong to those fuckwits. There's a lot of formal manners as well that I was taught that I don't really have a need for. Knowing different types of forks to use and shit like that. I'm going, this is never going to get used because the majority of my food is is eaten with one fork, which I reuse, and a teaspoon. I eat most of my shit with a teaspoon because I've got ASD and I find it's nice and small and I don't have to spray my mouth and do, like, it's horrible. Why a dessert spoon so fucking huge? Doesn't make sense. I use a teaspoon. It does the job as good. But I got like one fork. I got my favorite fork because, again, ASD. And I fixate on that one fork. But I was learned what's a fucking shrimp fork? What's a fucking, soup spoon? All this kind of shit. I was taught that. I was taught how to sit up. I was taught how to use proper language, proper English. I was punished for swearing profusely, particularly with liquid soap in the mouth and beating. So apparently ladies don't swear, even though I fucking swear now. I won that argument. Although I swear around my mum now and she just doesn't bat an eyelid. I'm like, yeah, I won that one. It's a luxury now, I get to use profanity. Ladies don't swear. This one fucking does. Particularly at the right moments, But yeah, and I enjoy it. So let's not read into that one. But it's all you have to wear particular clothes length and no mini skirts and things like that. All conservative views of things my mum had, which were part protection from sexual harassment and part control, I think. And part, if you do things like act the slut, guys will take advantage of it, and all this kind of things. But these things were ingrained into us when we were growing up, which is why my brother always followed us everywhere. If we were ever going out, my brother chaperoned us. My first time clubbing, I went with him and his mates, and my brother's like 5 years older than me. So I was, what was I, about 18? I must have been about 18 because I had my first shot with him. We all drank shots. It was called Aftershock. And then we went out to the local small nightclub. But the whole night, I was in the middle of a circle of guys. So no one was allowed to talk to me. They pretty much linked arms at this point. We had some of their girlfriends come too for company for me, but the age gap made it difficult. So even though it was a nice experience to be out of the house, I was, 18? My brother at the time was like 23. There's a 5-year gap. He was born in 1980. But, I never really experienced that kind of thing. And it didn't particularly interest me. I only went along because my brother was doing it at the time. And I was, like a mini him. I'm like, I want to be like Joe. Yeah, I want to be like Joe. And technically I'm kind of like him now, to be honest. I think I got the upgraded version of the boobs. Although his boobs are pretty impressive, I have to say. He is an emotional eater. But anyway, I love my brother. We have jokes about this shit, so don't worry, he's not getting shit for this. But, I was very protected, and now I'm protective because I know the consequences of what could come. Anything like sexual abuse actually came at the hands of someone I knew. It was never a stranger. Physical abuse, I did get assaulted in 2008 by a guy. I don't know what the fuck. That blew my mind because it was a guy hitting a girl. I'm going, guys don't hit girls. It's like, apparently this one does. I'm like, well, what the fuck? It's not allowed. That's what blew my mind. The fact that he hit like a bitch didn't even register. I'm going, that barely touched base, dude. My mum hits harder than you. You're going to have to do that again. It was the shock of being hit by a guy. I'm going, this doesn't make sense. Rather than anything, I think. That was weird. That was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd gone for a walk because I was jet lagged. And I just bad timing. Bad place, bad timing. That's actually in police records now. I don't know what they do with that information, but it's there. I had to report it to the police and all kinds of things. But, that shit happens so frequently in the area I grew up, so it's not really it's like, oh, you survived that, yeah, okay, next job. You get so used to fucked up shit happening that you just get used to it. You're like, well, that sucked. Next, am I going to do that again? Probably not. Am you going to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning, go for a walk in suburbia? No. Nope. So that could be, contributing to my PTS according to my psych. Apparently it did. I'm like, I grew up in a fucked up area, right? This shit's normal. Which is kind of sucky. But anyway, you get used to it. You live and you learn. You can identify people that are threats quite fucking quickly, to be honest, by just observing them at this point. which is traumatizing in itself because now you're, sitting in a population of potential threats. So you're like, hypervigilance, yay. So, manners. I would take a person with real manners over a fake person with fake manners and influence. I really would. If you got nothing, dirt poor, but you were taught, how to be genuinely considerate of others, I'd definitely take that person over, a starched up princess kind of, I'm going to pretend to be your friend kind of bitch. I hate those fuckers. I'll take rough people with manners over a bitch with fake manners. And I think you should, because it's real, isn't it? You got all these princessy types, prim and proper. My mum taught me manners. I can do both. I can do the rough stuff and I can do the polite stuff, which is good, because I think you should diversify your skills in any case. So I can walk into a room in a dress and be a completely different person compared to if I'm in the workplace and I'm, getting down and dirty and handling my shit. I think you should be capable of both. If I was looking for another partner, I'd be looking for someone who can do both. It's like, I want you to be able to fucking handle your shit, but also be a gentleman about it. I'm not saying you need to pull out my chair, because to be honest, I have trust issues and don't ever fucking do that to me. But I'll be checking to see where it is. It's like, just pull out the chair. Don't do that, you fucker. And I will land on my ass on the floor, and I hate that. Not a fun prank. I've got siblings, stop it. But, there's certain things like politeness, self-control, obviously monogamy, loyalty. All these kinds of things are highly valuable to me. Definitely the do unto others sort of thing. If you don't like it done to yourself, why the fuck are you doing it to other people? I don't like that. Some people have that double standard where they can be nasty to some people, but as soon as you call them on their bullshit, it's like, I'm the victim here. It's like, are you the victim here, or is this just reactive abuse? It's like, you've been an asshole. My reaction is natural because you were an asshole, and now I'm the bad guy for having a reaction. It just doesn't make sense. I'm all about equal. It's like, give as much as you get. So at this point, don't. And I mean, I'm a pacifist, so it's like, I'm all about the do no harm, but also I've got the little, take no shit side of things. It's like, we can all be polite here. But the second you start pissing me off, I'm going to show you how impolite I can be. But I'm only doing this because you showed me that you have no fucking manners. Yeah, you gotta have them. I mean, if you want to participate and you want to get along, you gotta have some semblance of manners. Don't blame your previous childhood trauma on your shit behavior. You learn these things. These are important to getting along. Some people will say, well, I had a bad background, so I can, just fuck around and treat people like shit. It's like, no, that's no excuse, because you don't get to. There's no excuse to treat people like shit. There's no excuse. It's like, I've come from a fucked up background. You don't see me going around cheating on people and smacking them around and stuff. It doesn't make sense. Why would I want to pass that shit on? Oh, hang on a sec, I've got to do my buzzer. So I would say, if you get a chance to, depending on your social context, at least be fluent in things like manners and politeness, because they are an asset. Of course, you're going to catch more, flies with honey than shit. Actually, I don't know. I might test that one. Let's just say honey and vinegar. I've known a lot of flies. But you're going to they're an asset. You want to be nice. You want to get along. You want to show that you're reliable, respectable. I say respectable. That you're, not going to fuck someone over, that you're honorable. The best way to do that is to present yourself in a polite and good-mannered kind of way. If you turn up like an utter scrag, doing the worst things to try and get attention, and then, starting fights and shit like that, people are going to turn on you because you're kicking your own legs out from underneath. No one's going to want to hang around an arsehole. And that goes for guys and girls, to be honest. It's not just a female thing, it's not a male thing. I think males and females should have some kind of politeness, which takes into consideration other people. And that includes just small things like, even if you've got housemates, if you've eaten someone something in the fridge, point going to the other one, in in the fridge or something. You replace it, don't you? You don't go, oh shit, sorry. You don't say sorry. You say, sorry, I've replaced it already. Don't worry about it. But then again, of course, you'd ask, wouldn't you? You'd use manners. You'd say, can I have that, and I'll buy you a new one. Anyway, if you're going to be self-sufficient, you shouldn't really be eating other people's shit. So I don't know. It's down to the individual, but they are an asset. All right, I'm going to have to leave it there. I know that's a short one because it was only a quick drive home. What is that? What is that? That's like 30 minutes. Not bad. I'm hoping you have a fantastic Thursday. It's still Thursday for me. I'm going to do my next podcast on Monday. Hopefully have the weekend to decompress and de-stress and get on with side projects and stuff. I've got to eat now because I've just left shit too long. And my blood sugar's gone. Anyway, I'm going to leave you there, and I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. I'll see you on Monday.